Welcome everybody back to a Bag of Tricks. This is a podcast primarily dedicated to New World content, but not, I guess, always going to be about New World content. You're joined by your hosts, which is me, BagginsTV, and we also have the majestic Mr. Trick here as well. Trick, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, B. How about yourself? Thank you so much for that awesome, welcoming right here.
Yeah,
I'm doing great.
Last time around, I think I feel like I implied last time it was my podcast and you were joining me as like a guest, but it's, the Bag of Tricks.
Oh,
also, which the abbreviation is, you pointed out, a Bag of Tricks is bots, by the way. So
It is.
we're both bots, which is obviously a pretty common thing that people are always talking about in New World.
Yeah.
On the topic of New World, it's probably been about, I think we were talking about it just earlier, it's been about like 3, maybe 4 weeks since we last did an episode. I think the Season 1 PTR had only just kicked off. We were checking out the Fire Staff changes, and since then we've had like the 3 different events. There's been the Corrupted Rabbit event, the Spriggan event, and the Springtide Bloom as well. How have are you still playing on the PTR, Trick? I feel like people go on it for a bit, and then, you've kind of seen everything. How are you feeling about the PTR now?
I went to the PTR mostly to test the weapons and how they were doing. I tried to do a little bit of the event, but the game kept crashing.
Yeah.
The game kept crashing whenever I was doing the event, and it was just a PTR issue. But I think they fixed it. The Springtide Bloom event, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. It's something to keep us busy. I like the fact that you can do it by yourself. You don't need a big group to do it. And mostly it's honestly just having a good time, vibing. The music is nice, the atmosphere is nice, and you can farm at your own time and your own pace, and then go and buy the patterns and the skins, etc. I think that's what an event should be like.
Yeah, no,
that's
I agree.
Way better than just killing a big dude with barely any rewards.
Yeah, which is gonna be, well, I don't know if the Fury of the Spriggan event's gonna be like that, but yeah. We should say at time of recording, I don't know, sometimes people don't want to date their recording, but I think it's like good for YouTube and the podcast. It's currently the 28th of March, which was when Season 1 was set to go live. At time of recording of this, it has currently been delayed until March 30th on Thursday. Could potentially be another delay again, or maybe it will actually get released at that time. I think, the idea for me is like they delay it because it's better to release content that's like properly working rather than content that's like half finished that all got some like bugs in it or whatever. Do you think we're going to get another delay again, Trick? How are you feeling, man? I'd say...
No.
Yeah? You think it's okay?
No, that's it. This is gonna be it. This is gonna be it. Probably if we get a delay, it's gonna be like maybe like, okay, listen, sorry, we're gonna take like another 30-minute delay.
Okay.
Like an hour delay, which people still get upset about those, but I don't think they're not moving into it would look very bad because okay, why would you give us this date if you weren't sure that you were gonna give it to us that day? Like
yeah, especially when the last like dev video, they were like, yeah, we're very serious about committing to the timeline for the seasons, and we're gonna make sure that we do this right and on time. And then with the very first season, it's like already a delay. But yeah, dude.
The crazy thing is, people were like, oh, so is he coming on the 28th? And I'm just like, all right, listen up, boys. They said it was gonna be on the 28th. But if we go back chronologically, every single patch that they have delayed it one way or another, and you cannot think of any B that has not been delayed. Every single one of them has been delayed. So I was like, if they want to keep it traditional, they will delay it. Now, for how long will they delay it? That is another story, And I was telling my stream, I was like, it's probably gonna be like 48 to 72 hours. And some people were like, oh, wow, really? I thought it was going to be like a week or two. I was like, no, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
What were your expectations?
I mean, I don't know. The fact that like I was kind of surprised when they initially said that it was going to be like 28 months. That's 28 months. Sorry. Jeez. No, hopefully not that long of a delay. But they said it was going to be the 28th of March, and they told us that like way ahead of time. I'm like, holy flip, dude, what's going on? Like they never tell us that when a patch is coming ahead of time. It's always like, oh, by the way, the update's coming tomorrow. So yeah, the fact that they told us, I was like, this is a good sign, but I'm also like a bit nervous, a bit like doubtful. Yeah, I don't know. We obviously, if you want to get like a negative opinion on New World, there's like a million out there. So I think we both generally try to keep it pretty positive. But at the same time, you kind of just, it's like New World. You understand at this point, like it's just New World, lol.
Yeah, it is a new world thing. It
Yeah.
really, like, at this point, a new world thing, it's like something completely understandable. Like, hey, why does that happen? Yeah, man, don't worry, but that's the new world thing.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, you just don't question it. It's one of those things, something that we have to deal with. As long as we're playing on this engine, it's gonna be something that is always going to be there.
Yeah, it's a
There's no
whelp,
escaping
as is the
it's a
popular
whelp.
term.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way we can say it. Yeah, it's a whelp.
Yeah. So for anybody who doesn't know, anybody who's like tuning in and just like checking out what's going on with New World, or maybe like kind of in the loop but not, season 1 currently is set to, it's going to release on the 30th, so Thursday, March. We're going to get quite a lot of changes to the fire staff and a few other weapons as well, just balance changes in general. The season pass is coming in. We're also going to get the gear set storage system. There's going to be the new dungeon, the Empyrean Forge. They're introducing the new Heart rune with the Firestorm rune. There's going to be new quests. And I think a few other features as well that I haven't... and the Season Pass. Did I say the Season Pass? So there's quite a bit of content coming in there. Out of everything that's in, Trick, is there like one thing in particular that you're like looking forward to, or you're like, it's like, yeah, that's the big ticket for me?
So obviously, what everybody's the most into it is the combat change, and obviously, combat is the biggest thing on this expansion that is coming. Not expansion, this patch.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Empyrean Force is going to be a very huge aspect of it because we all know how amazing that dungeon is, right? And it's a dungeon that we're not going to mind doing the first week that we're able to do it. But first of all, as soon as the patch comes out, everybody's going to be doing the normal version of it.
Yeah.
And whenever Mutated comes out, people are going to go all the way from 1 to 10 in so quick because people want, obviously, now with the leaderboards and stuff, people don't want to waste any time trying to get to that top 5. And it will be such an amazing race because this is a dungeon that nobody has done, like Mutated. And to see like worldwide what is the quickest time that people are doing and what is the higher score. So this is something that is going to keep a big part of the population very busy for at least the first 2 weeks or however long, because I don't know if whenever they release this patch, they will release it with a mutated version of the Empyrean Forge.
Yeah, I think they typically like put a little bit of a gap between the normal and the mutated, right?
Right, like a week later, right? Because that's what they did as well with SS. They made SS and they was like, all right, well, we're gonna with Barnacles, I think, and Tempest. I think they've done it with those as well. They haven't made it mutated as soon as they release it.
Like obviously Starstone had to be mutated because it's like a mashup, right? It's Starstone and Amarine, so there's no like normal version of that dungeon. I mean, there is kind of. It's both Starstone and Amarine, but mutated is like a unique blend of the two. So yeah, that one came in mutated straight away.
Right. Talking about that, I was doing Amarine yesterday, and I'm starting to pay attention more to the map. It was like, whoa, yeah, look, this is Starstone right there. And you see all of a Starstone while you're in Amarine, and you see all of Amarine when you're in Starstone. So I'm not surprised they did that mashup. But I never pay attention to that because I only did Starstone like once when I was like level 30, and I never ever did it again.
I did it like 700 times during the Return to a Tournament event because we had to do it like 500 as a server.
Oh, no.
God, it was
I didn't do the Starstone only once when I was leveling up for the quest, and then when it became mutated.
Yeah, man. I think like one thing that's gonna be like pretty big about the rush to get the new dungeon done this time around, like Empyrean Forge and mutated, like people are gonna be figuring out the strats on how to run the dungeon efficiently, but people also have got to figure out like the new meta as well, because I don't think anybody like confidently knows like 100% without a doubt this is going to be the top tier weapons, this is going to be the best like equip load, this is going to be like the gems that you run absolutely without a doubt. I don't know, what are you seeing like in terms of shifts in the meta? Have you got any predictions? Like some people are seeing like Spear and Rapier is going to go up in power level, Fire Staff's obviously becoming quite a bit stronger. Do you think Fire Staff is going to be like an S tier weapon? It's like used all around, or because right now you don't really see Fire Staff in that many places. Like you have a Fire Staff blunderbuss, but that's probably it, right?
100% B. Honestly, the thing that the Fire Staff and the blunderbuss, both of them bring to the table is just gonna be raw AoE damage. Understandably, there's other weapons that have better utility. Like you have the Spear that have the rends, and they also have the weakens, right? You have the Rapier, which increases the damage for your team if they have the Keen Tondo in their gear. That way, the whole team gets critical, But the thing that the Fire Staff blunderbuss has is an insane AoE damage, getting those clumps of monster, because that is what the whole competitive, gameplay is all about. You grab a huge clump, you kill it super fast, and you move on to the next huge clump and you kill it super fast. There's no like kill in between, and unless it's like a mini boss or something like that. And the Fire Staff Blunderbuss is perfect for that. It's perfect for AoE, clump, a huge burst of clump damage with the splitting grenades, Shrapnel Blast, the Pillar of Fire, Fireball. It's gonna be such quick AoE damage. And for the fights for like single target bosses, the Blunderbuss is insane. And with a 10% increase in damage, and obviously some of the nerf that happened to the melee weapons, like the hatches, like I still think Rapier is gonna be an amazing weapon for single target, but it's not gonna be that great for AoE, right? The same with Spear. Spear has crazy utility, but the damage of Spear is not really there to consistently compete with an AoE clump, right?
Yeah.
Because who will deal more AoE damage, a Spear or a Fire Staff? You know, Fire Staff will obviously do more AoE damage. So I still think that, you know, you're going to have the people that use Spear for like the single target debuffing and stuff like that. And then the Greatsword for like the AoEs. And I think the Fire Staff definitely has a place. This increasing damage and how quickly you can do the new Pillar of Fire if you have it on the weapon, and the combination of Fireball, because the mobs, the group of mobs, they don't stay alive for that long. Honestly, the group of mob only stay alive for like 3 to 5 seconds if you're in a very good group, you know? You do the big pull, you burst them all down, and there might be like 1 or 2 alive, is because they're getting the compost buff from the little minions, right?
Yeah.
And the Fireball now, you know, deals a little more damage on targets that are above 50%, but you realistically only use Fireball once in one of those clump team fights. You know, you start the fight with a Fireball, and then you burn them all with a burn of the Fireball, and then you hit them with a Pillar of Fire, splitting grenades, more Pillar of Fire, and the AoE damage, it's insane. So to answer your question, will Fire Staff have a place in the competitive meta? 100%. 100%. I will be making a guide about Fire Staff Blunderbuss PvE pretty soon, and I will show you guys how we're gonna make it happen.
Did you see the video of it was on the PTR? Some people were saying you can currently do it on live. He was like Pillar of Fire on the 2 dummies just over and over and over again.
Yeah, you can do it.
You think that's, and you can do that on live currently?
Yeah, you can do that. Actually, you've been able to do that a whole entire year ago. My actually first YouTube video about New World is called Infinite Pillar of Fires.
Okay.
And I did that. Yeah, I did that in like January of the, you know, when the game came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been able to do Infinite Pillar of Fire all the time. The thing is that it used to work back then because people didn't know how to play the game, and everybody was all over the place. Melees were leaving the mage cast freely, so it was very easy for you to hit 2 targets. The archers and musketeer were not meta back then. Nobody was playing archer or musketeer, so it was very common for you to play back to spamming Pillar of Fire. But right now in the current meta with the archers, looking for those mages to to burst them down with 2 shots, you cannot stay in a rampart consistently hitting 2 targets. That is a dream. You will never be able to do that in I mean, you will be able to pull it off in some OPRs, right? But consistently do that in PvP, that is not realistic at all. It's like going 500 focus. You're like, wow, my heals will do 1,000,000 heal. There's no way nobody can kill me. No, that only works in your head. Go out there and try to fight 2 decent players. They will destroy you. They will destroy you immediately.
I know a point of contention amongst the player base. I remember, like, I think anyway, when we go back to the previous podcast, we were talking about, like, when Amazon first rolled out these changes, and with the changes to Fortify and stuff, and they were saying that they're going to nerf Resilient and like light armor nerfs coming in. Now that we've seen everything like basically play out as it is, we haven't actually seen the patch notes, but we can play on the PTR and get like an idea of what's going on. Do you think the light armor nerf, with specifically, I guess Fortify is what really ends up nerfing things, right? It's not they specifically nerf light armor, but they nerfed Fortify. Do you think it does make light armor like too weak, or do you still see like there's gonna be a place for light equip loads and stuff? Like, undoubtedly heals, in my opinion, still gonna be played on light equip load because that healing bonus is too much to give up. But yeah, with like the Fire Staff Blunderbuss and stuff like that, you think that's gonna be a light equip load or medium? How are you feeling about that stuff?
Super huge change, 100%. For example, if you check my latest video for Fire Staff Blunderbuss, I'm not getting any of the small fortifications anymore. Like, the Blunderbuss used to have 2 fortifications, right?
Yeah.
One that every time that you use an ability near a target that was close to you, you get 3%, 10% fortify. And then the other one, for every time that you use an ability, you will get 3% fortify, stacking up to 5 times, right?
Yeah.
I don't recommend those anymore because 3% fortify, that's more of a debuff than a buff. If the enemy that you're fighting has invigorated punishment, because now you have a buff that gives you 3% increased armor, but instead he has invigorated punishment, which is 2% increased damage. They will do more damage to you than you are actually resisting, right? So anything that is less than 25 or 30% fortification for light armor, I'm saying don't take it. Don't take it. It's definitely a nerf. On the blunderbuss, obviously you still need to go for last chance. Give me a second, B.
Yeah, no worries. We should explain,
Look,
by the way, just for the audience.
She's destroying my door. You see, she doesn't ask me. She starts destroying the door, and then she's like, "Well, I'm here." Go ahead.
It's typical cats. I was gonna say for the audience and for like those who aren't like super well versed with the changes that's going in, the big change to Fortify is that right now Fortify in the current version of the game, like pre-season 28th of March or whatever we're at, Fortify gives you a straight up damage reduction. So if you have a 10% Fortify, you take 10% less damage. If you have a 50% Fortify, which is the cap, you take 50% less damage, which is pretty, that's pretty good. Taking 50% less damage, that's pretty nice. And the next update, a 10% Fortify instead increases your armor by 10%, or a 50% Fortify increases your armor by 50%. So if you have light armor on, if you're in a light equip load, you don't have as much armor as somebody who's in a heavy equip load wearing heavy armor. So yeah, as a direct result, Fortifies are less powerful across the board for everybody because, getting more armor isn't as good as just having a straight up damage reduction, but it directly affects the light equip, the light armor users the most because they have the least amount of armor to benefit from the Fortify.
Oh, dude, the play style changes so much. I love playing super aggressive with my blunderbuss because I know the potential of it. I know that I can go in, and as soon as I go in with a burnout, I can do a roll, splitting grenades, basic attack, shrapnel blast, basic attack, net shot. So I have the 10% fortification from being close to the enemy and using an ability, right? And then an extra 9% from using 3 abilities. So I'm like a 19% fortification, which is like 19-20% damage reduction. And I can play aggressive all the way up to until 50% HP. And then 50% HP drops, and I get 50% damage reduction. So I know that I have a very big window for me to do a lot of aggressive plays. And that dictates my play style. Okay, I can play aggressive now, or I need to play defensive. But now, basically, they made it that you always need to play defensive. The moment that you want to play aggressive, you're going to be very, very punished. Very punished for this action.
Yeah, and fellow healer players are going to have to watch out a lot as well, because previously in the past we got Fortifying Sacred Ground. It's like a 10% Fortify roughly. Orb of Protection is another 10% Fortify. And then a lot of healers run the Protector's Touch. When you land a left click, you get a 15% Fortify. So that's like, what is that, 10, 20? That's 35% damage reduction right there. So you're going to be taking like, not necessarily 35% more damage, but it's gonna be like close to that because I think somebody did the maths. Like a 10% Fortify on light armor is now only like a 2 to 3% damage reduction. So yeah, you're gonna be taking like way more damage in the next update, and as a result, not only for like PvP, but also in PvE as well. You lose aggro at the tank, and one of those little crawler dudes hits you. The little jumpy guys. Man, it is gonna hurt as a healer at somebody in a light equip load. So
yep.
Yeah,
you're done.
I think.
Go ahead.
For like a lot of people, it's almost gonna be like you gotta like relearn how to play the game. You gotta be much like more careful about your positioning, and you can't just like casually run in and be like, oh, it's okay, I'll just rapier out or whatever, or I'll just use like my because a lot of healers right now in PvP are also doing PvE. They do the Scream and the Void Blade, because Scream, if you land it on a pack of enemies, gives you 10% Fortify for each enemy it hits. So that's 30% on 3 enemies. And then Void Blade, when you pop it, gives you 20% Fortify for like 5 seconds. So you're instantly at 50% damage reduction just with the Void Blade, whereas now nowhere near like as strong. So yeah, I don't know, people are gonna like be running more Constitution, or we're just gonna have more people dying. I don't know. I don't really know exactly how it's gonna play out, but yeah.
Do you see yourself going in there with a Void Blade still? A screen, Void Blade, Oblivion, and just start smacking the clump of mobs, and you get hit right now. You're like, oh, it's okay. I'm on top of
you can take a few hits. I don't know, man. I'm excited for this. I want to do like 300 con Void Blade with the grit now. That's what I want to do. It's probably not going to be as good for healing, but it's fun, Finally,
it's gonna be hilarious.
Finally, get some grit on the Void Blade, which is going to be good. It's the hit detection still going to be terrible in PvP.
Yeah, so bad. Also, another thing that we haven't talked about is rends. In the other hand, for example, the brutal vines are not going to be as powerful as it is right now. Like the brutal vines right now is like one of the best hard runes in the entire game. If you get a light player with the vines, it's 20% more damage a light player receives. You burst them down like that. And in PvE as well, there's a huge clump of mobs. You put the vines, all of those mobs are receiving 20% more damage. Next patch, that's not gonna work. Next patch, you hit a light player with the vines, and you will barely tell the difference of the damage, the extra damage you do to them. You know. So
Yeah.
the brutal vines got a huge nerf next patch, unless everybody goes medium or heavy, right?
Yeah.
And for PvE, the same thing. That 20% rend on all of the mobs in that area was huge. It was a lot of damage. But now that's not gonna be anything against the mobs, because the rends and the fortification, they went from fortification was 50%, rend was 30%. I think the fortification now is 200%, and the rend is like 150, 200% still, meaning that you can stack it like so many times now. But realistically, not everybody has rend to stacks. Like you have the spear, you have like the void gauntlet, and then pretty much the entire group needs to come with a rend.
Yeah.
You know, if you
you're
want
gonna
to have those
min-max.
50, and you will sacrifice a lot of damage if you want to put in the rend. So the meta for PvE will also shift a little bit the same way that it will be for PvP. And I'm super excited for this.
Yeah.
Super excited.
We should explain, by the way, it's the same sort of concept. Like in the ways that Fortify was a damage reduction and now it's an armor increase, Rend was a damage increase. You just straight up do like 20% more damage to somebody. Now you reduce their armor by 20%, which is like, again, nowhere near as powerful as it used to be. I think one thing that is unchanged, if I remember rightly, is Weaken. I think Weaken still just straight up like reduces somebody's damage by how much they do.
So powerful. Weaken, I don't understand why people don't utilize Weaken as much as they should. Weaken is so powerful both in PvP and PvE. In PvE, when you're fighting like Scylla, you're able to push like all the way to 20, 25 stacks, you know, by just having a spear on your team. And you can do some crazy things with weakening a boss, or whenever he's got like a one-shot mechanic or something like that. Like Nature Tooth, for example, with the bow ability that he like one-shot people. If you hit him with a skewer weaken, he only deals like 50% of their health to you. You know, which is huge.
Yeah.
That is huge. Weakening is so powerful. And yes, it did not get touched whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, that leads back to why we were saying like Spear might go up in power level, because Weaken is so important. And with Spear, it's got Enfeebling Skewer, which is like a huge weaken that it's got. And then you've also got Perforate as well, which is got a rend.
Yep.
So yeah, Spear has a lot in its toolkit along with all the CC that it does. They did make a change where like CC abilities, so abilities that do like a stun or a root or a knockdown or something, do less damage. I'm pretty glad for this, because like already right now I was like playing Outpush this morning. I got hit with somebody's like they did like a Warhammer and then Sword and Shield. So they did like a Shockwave and then like a Gavel and then like just a charged heavy, and it was like all of my health. And I was like, geez, dude, I'm getting hit with a stun and it's also hitting people like 4K at the same time. Like, what is going? Why is this ability so powerful?
Crazy. Yeah, dude. Like the traditional combo is like they hit you with a shield rush, which is like 1,500, then shield bash, which is like another 1,500. So that is like 3,000 already. And then they hit you with a wrecking ball, which is like 3,000. So now we're sitting like a 6,000, then a shockwave, which is like another 1,500.
Yeah.
So now it's like 7,000. Then I cleared out for like another 3,000. We're now sitting at 10,000 damage. And then on the cleared out, they hit you with a basic attack, which is like another 2,000. Bro, they do 12,000 to 13,000 damage to you. And let's not hope that, I mean, with the rain and backstab and all of that thing, and they had the Malachite you always see. And yeah, the Warhammer can 100 to 0 kill anybody that is in light armor super easy. So I'm glad that they did these changes, because how can a CC ability also be a damaging ability?
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty strong.
Yeah. So we saw that generally like across the board. Like if an ability does like if it is a form of CC, they either remove the CC or they lowered its damage. Although I think they did like decide to go back, because Flourish and Finish, they removed the stagger from it, and I think they decided to add the stagger back in because players were complaining. But they did like lower the damage a little bit. I think in general though, because of these Fortify changes, like in my expectation is that the game is going to feel like a bit faster, you know, like it's going to feel like everybody's just dying like faster, you know, the time to kill is to be like quicker, you know. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I just think it's like, you know, you make a mistake and boom, you're dead now, because you can't really rely on that damage reduction as much as you could in the past.
100%. But at least now with Fort Freedom, you will be able to get away from all of this CC change, which I did the test in the PTR. And Fort Freedom it's 40% is what you need, all right? Because if you're in medium, you only need 3 freedoms, and if you're in heavy, you only need 2 freedoms. And with 40% of freedom, if you get hit by a shield bash, you will be able to get out of it before you could get hit by a wrecking ball. And wrecking ball is like the fastest CC in the game.
Mm.
Well, other than, you know, and if you get hit by a shockwave with Fort Freedom, you are able to get out of the shockwave before you get hit by the wrecking ball. You know, so it's like super useful. So you will never be able to get hit by one of this CC change anymore as long as you're running Fort Freedoms.
Yeah. So for Freedom, like going up in power, I mean, Freedom's already pretty good, but it's gonna be like more important in the next patch. And then Weaken, we talked about obviously being more important as well. I think Elemental Aversion, a lot of people saying, I mean, Elemental Aversion already right now really good, but if we are going to see like a lot of mage gameplay, at least from a PvP standpoint, but also I think Elemental Aversion PvE is good as well. Is going to be going up in power level, be stonks because of all the fire staffs around potentially. This was going somewhere, but now my brain is just like just dumped the thought. I was gonna segue this into something, but I can't remember what I was gonna say now. No, it's just completely gone.
Yeah, don't worry about it. How about this, B? How do you feel? How do you feel about the game and classes wise? Are you happy with the direction of the game? Like, just add a weapon, and that's it. You add this weapon to your other weapon, and you're good with it. Excuse me.
I know you would like, you suggested this idea this crazy idea of like being like having mage weapons like scale off of focus partially or something like that. Is that what this is going
that's
to?
Another idea. Well, okay, so so this is going two ways, all right? This is going two ways that we can make the game so much more dynamic, all right? If you add focus to the intelligence weapons, that gives the opportunity for the light staff to utilize any magical weapon they want. Right? They can use light staff, they can use fire staff to be in the open world. Like, let's say that you're needing growth. In growth, everything is angry earth. And usually the light staff gear is a light staff with a void gauntlet or a light staff with a rapier. That's about it, right?
Yeah.
And you go out there and you spend so much time killing this angry earth, but if fire staff skills with a little bit of focus, 65%, just like the void gauntlet, you know, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It's just like the void gauntlet, you know, and that way a healer could be whatever they want. And or vice versa. And now a fire staff can have the light staff as an off weapon, and their heal is not going to be strong enough to be able to tank 2-3 people like a regular light staff can, but they will be able to withstand at least one player in the open world. And whenever you say, well, Trick, that's going to be super powerful, I'm just like, well, why? Well, because you're a light staff, nobody can kill a light staff. Yeah, but at the same time, usually everybody uses 2 weapons, right, to finish to kill somebody. Like, barely anybody kills one person with just one weapon only. So if a fire staff decides to go with a light staff, you're not really more of a fire staff support than a fire staff damage dealer. You barely, a good player will escape from just a fire staff. You're not going to be able to kill them. But it still gives them more room and more variety for the player base to be what they want to be, rather than just be forced to play what the game, you know, forces them to play. Which is, if you're a fire staff, you can only play either blunderbuss or ice gauntlet, realistically. And if you're a light staff, you can only play void gauntlet or rapier. I mean, yeah, you could play hatchet, you could play a great sword, but they're not as good as the void gauntlet or rapier.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I don't know. Maybe I'm like a bit too like stuck in my ways of like how it is in a lot of other MMOs, but I do like just having like my class identity, you know, like I'm a healer and this is the thing that I do and these are my weapons, you know, and I don't know. I know it's kind of boring. Yeah, you'd rather have like a lot of different variety, but I kind of like the idea that if you're gonna play life staff, you do have some limitations. For me, the only thing that like right now that I'm like a little bit sad about is I'd love the idea to be able to like heal in medium or heavy, but it just really doesn't feel viable. Like maybe you can pull off medium in some situations, just about, but in general, I just feel like heavy armor healing is like completely not gonna happen. But yeah, I don't know. I've never really had the desire to like. I mean, sometimes I'll do like a weird build. You know, like it was a time when I was just mixing I did like a bow life staff build, and you just stand at the back and just like use all your bow abilities, then use all your life staff abilities, then use all your bow abilities, and just switch back and forth. But I don't know.
That's funny. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Here, check this out. Idea number 2. All right.
Okay.
And this can come with like a future expansion or something like that.
Okay.
And so it's giving the game a little bit more of class identity. All right, check this out. Whenever you start the game, you pick a weapon. You pick either fire staff or whatever you want to pick.
Right.
And then you level that weapon. If that's your only weapon. And if you level that weapon and you only want to play with that weapon, you will be a specialist in that weapon. And you can only play with one weapon. You will have 38 slots, right, for that weapon, meaning that you can get all 6 abilities, and you can get both ultimates. but you cannot switch to another weapon. You are specialized in a light staff user.
Yeah.
But at level 30, you get a quest giving you the choice to be a multi-class. If you choose to be multi-class, you can only have 3 abilities of these weapons, but you are able to use 2 weapons. So if a person that chooses to be a fire staff pyromancer only and have all 6 ability of the fire staff, they can be a fire staff only. And a fire staff only, if you think about it, if you can have all of the perks and if you can have all 6 abilities, you can do some crazy things with it, right? And it'll be cool. It'll be cool. That way, if you want to be just an archer, you can be just an archer with all 6 abilities and most of the passives and both the ultimates, right? But you cannot switch weapons. And yeah, what do you think of that one?
I mean, it's like a pretty big shift from like the way, like the whole like you know, idea of New World currently, I think. But at the same time, you know, like I said, I'm more in favor of like the regimented classes and having like a specialization. So I think I'd be down. I mean, I know there's gonna be it would be like a big point of contention because some people like being able to like, you know, they like doing the Warhammer and Great Axe. They like doing the, you know, I've seen more and more people adopt this sword and shield rapier like unkillable stupid tank build in Outpost Rush where they just they just fly around and just get people to focus them, and people don't realize that it's just pointless because they've only got 500 Constitution. You just literally just leave them there. They're like a doorstop, but. For me, I'd be down. I think I was talking to my wife about this the other day actually, and she was saying like one of the problems she feels like back in the early days of New World, it felt like you had to choose a craft and go for it. You know, you had people in the company like, all right, that's our guy who does the weaponsmithing. She's got her Arcana like all the way maxed up, and this person, you know, they're the person who could make the bags. You know, they had a armoring skill to make bags. Now everybody kind of does everything because we're so far through the game. Like everybody's got all their crafting skills maxed out. It doesn't feel like you have these dedicated crafters anymore. So the idea of like pigeonholing people and saying like you're a specialist in this thing, I'm kind of down, but I'm also aware that it's probably not like a popular opinion with a lot of people in chat and a lot of people like listening to this in general. But I would give it a go, man. I don't know. I think it could be fun.
I mean, the pros and cons of that. The pros are that if you were to go with that, right, professions will spike in value.
Yeah.
Everybody will want to be the one profession that gives them money the most, or the one profession that they want. They're like, oh, listen, I'm a mage, so probably will be crafting light armor most of the time, so I'm gonna level that one, right? And on the second, but the cons are like, well, now you're not self-sustainable. If you want gems, now you need to go to a gem cutter. You know, if you want something like a honing stone, now you need to wait for a weapons meeting. And if you don't have that person as a friend, then, well, you need to go to the marketplace. I'm okay, honestly, with both. You want me to be honest with you? I hate the current crafting system that we have. It's so dumb. It's very simple. It's you can get the best things in the game. You can get it via crafting. It defeats the purpose of a lot of activities in the games because you don't even need to kill anything if you want to have the best gear in the game. You just need somebody to give you $1 million gold. You go to the marketplace and you buy everything because everybody can craft the best things.
Yeah.
So I honestly think they should bring down on getting biz by crafting. Like, I don't mind you go kill, let's say, Isabella, and Isabella drops a pattern that is a piece of, you know, a piece of armor that for a lot of classes, you know, and then all the Nation Tune drops something for warriors, where Isabella drops something for the Dex users, you know. And I don't mind that every dungeon gives you like a one piece of armor, and then you can go craft it, and wow, I got the Isabella's chest, you know, that is super biz for Dex users, and then the other things you get it by crafting, but you shouldn't get everything by just crafting. Like a PvPer doesn't have to do any PvE activity in the game, or vice versa, to have the best PvP or PvE gear. If you want the best PvE gear, you go to the marketplace, you type ward, refreshing, and whatever the hell you want. If it's there, you buy it. If it's not there, well, you craft it yourself or you wait for it. So there's no really like, wow, I need to kill this guy to get this beast piece of armor. You know what I mean? You could, but you could also get it crafted.
Yeah. I agree. I partially agree where you're coming from. I think about this when I play, like, again, I know New World is its own MMO. Like, people are gonna be like, Baggins, why do you want New World to be like so much like other MMOs? But sometimes I think the systems are better. Like, if I wanted my character to get better gear in World of Warcraft for like PvP, I would go do 3v3 arena or battlegrounds or whatever, and I would get my rating higher, and then I could go to the vendor and buy better gear, and then I would have to keep working harder to get better gear. And I was being rewarded with better gear by putting in efforts. And if I wanted, from a PvE standpoint, I would do normal dungeons, then heroic, then mythic. I would go do the raids. I would do heroic raids, and there was this constant feeling of progressing and getting better gear.
Yes.
The way that you get better gear in New World is you roll the dice, and you're like, oh, I hope that I get the perks this time. Oh, no, I'll go spend another 20,000 gold. And realistically, you know, you and me, you could get really lucky trick and have just an amazing crafting session, and you could get 3 pieces of bis, and then I'm on the other side, and I don't get any bis. Does that mean that you worked harder? You're a better player because you rolled the dice better than I did? No, it's a pretty stupid system of progression where we we just keep pulling the slot machine and hope that we get better gear. I wish that there was a system which rewarded like playing in the game and you actually got better gear that way. But yeah, like 95% of people's good gear in the game does come from crafting. And again, I know the crafters are like, don't you dare mess with our crafting, but I just wish there was a better progression system than just rolling the dice. Because let's face it, like the vast majority of items you get from dungeons are trash. The vast majority of items you get from the PvP rewards track are trash. Maybe Outpost Rush boxes could be pretty good, especially in the next update. But yeah, just overall, it feels like almost every piece of progression in New World in terms of getting better gear is just rolling the dice. It's very hard to get a reliable, consistently good drop.
I mean, look what people are more excited about the events, the patterns. Why? Because we can craft more beasts now.
Yeah.
Like we don't even care the rewards from the event. Who cares? Show me the patterns so I can get beast armor, crafting it so I can make money. That's it. Like, people don't look at the events like, wow, this sword from this event is gonna be super awesome for like the next 4 months for PvP. Like, nobody looks at it that way. People look at the swords. Oh wow, it has keenly empowered. Yeah, let's just craft like 200 of them. And now everybody has the same sword, and it was just via crafting. And some people might get millions of golds with the same amount of effort that somebody else didn't get absolutely anything.
Yeah.
And I think that is really unfair. It's really, really unfair.
Yeah, and in an ideal world, it would be like you can invest a lot of time into gathering materials for crafting and make bis, or you can invest a lot of time in becoming absolutely the best at PvP and like you can buy from a vendor or something, or you can invest a lot of time in PvE and again buy from a vendor or something. So it would be like, again, you can always like roll the dice and get lucky and get faster crafting it. But yeah, for me, it would be awesome if there was like an actual like sense of like I put time into the game and I got rewarded, rather than I put time in the game, but ultimately it's just rolling the dice and hoping that you get a good outcome on the gamba. Yeah.
Or also you could make that to craft a specific armor, you need specific monsters resources. Because right now, to craft any armor in the game, regardless of what it is the same resources for everything. If you want to craft a super majestic void blade, well, you need orichalcum, you need phoenix weave, you need this and that. And if you want to craft a great axe, well, you need the same exact things. If you could make it like, if you want to craft like a void blade, then you need all of these things, plus you need Isabella's armpit's hair or whatever, and then you use that to craft. That way the people that want that blade, they get those resources, they feel rewarded, they got it. And that's gonna be like a beast void gauntlet for like corrupted dungeons. Right now, if you want a beast void blade for corrupted dungeons, you need to craft it until you finally get one, or if it's not in the marketplace.
Yeah. It'd be cool if you could take like, you get Isabella's armpit hair, and you get like you get a twig from Green's Keeper or whatever, and you get Admiral Black Powder's like beard hair. I don't know why there's so much body hair in him. And you mix it all together at a crafting station, and like you get to custom choose an item or something. Yeah. Something like that would be pretty cool. So you have to like go through and do a lot of different content or whatever.
We're making a fur coat.
Yeah, basically.
Talking about fur coat, what are you wearing there, Ving? Is it cold over there?
Yeah,
you look like a polar bear, but black.
My sister got me this for Christmas. It's like a forest yeti kind of thing going on. It's warm though. It's toasty. It's cooled back down. Like the weather in England like keeps like, it's like, oh, spring is starting. Let's go. It gets warmer, and then it's like psych, and then it snows or it just gets really cold again. So it's like bounced back now, and it's like really cold again today. But yeah. I was gonna say, by the way, on the topic of crafting patterns, just while it's in my brain, for those of you who aren't aware, the Springtide Bloom event, which is we don't know exactly how they're gonna do it. My guess is We have a season which lasts 3 months, as Amazon have said, and we have 3 events: the Corrupted Rabbit, the Spriggan, and the Springtide Bloom. So I'm guessing like one event every month, you know, maybe that lasts like 2 or 3 weeks. But one of them is going to be the Springtide Bloom, which we talked about earlier. It's pretty chill. Crafting patterns that you can get from that. The legendary ones guarantee refreshing plus physical aversion, and then there's a very high likelihood that resilient is the third perk. So those of you looking to get geared up for PvP, I think it's not like the best stuff, but it's, I don't know, what would you say? Resilient, physical aversion, refreshing? That's like okay, right? It's like
it's pretty okay.
Entry level.
Especially if the things go the way they are planning on going, there's gonna be a lot of archers in OPR. So that could be like a nice entry anti-archer level gear for anybody really, because anybody could use physical aversion, resilient, and refreshing if you're a healer, you know. If you are a mage, a lot of classes could utilize this gear as a very nice entry level, or even just to complete their, you know, a couple of pieces of armors they need for a set. Like, wow, look, I was looking forward to get a helmet with this set. I don't think it's a bad idea. Yeah. Plus, the last spring event, it was the same thing, but with elemental aversion. It was refreshing and elemental aversion.
Yeah.
For the legendaries, and now this year they're doing refreshing and physical aversion. And talking about physical aversion, what do you think about making physical aversion also work for melee attacks and not just range bow attacks or musket? Because that kind of makes that perk be usable for only some sort of situation. Like if we talk about elemental aversion, it works for archers using elemental gems, explosive arrows, you know, the powder burn from the musket. It works against all of the magical weapons, and even works against some melee weapons that use, like, for example, gravity well, that is now a range attack. Elemental aversion will work with that. But if you look at physical aversion doesn't work against mages. Physical aversion doesn't work against any melee weapon. It strictly only works against hatchet throws, bow shots, and if the bow shot has a magical gem in it, 60% is only physical, so elemental aversion will protect you from only 60% of the shot. So it's physical aversion is only protecting you from a percentage of only 2.5 weapons in the game, which makes the perk a little underwhelming and underperforming if we compare it to the counterpart, which is elemental aversion.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, elemental aversion definitely covers like a lot more situations than physical aversion does. I think it would be pretty powerful. It would definitely be like, it would go from being like a okay, like maybe like a B tier perk to being like S tier if it reduced melee damage. I think they'd probably have to like lower the percentage. What is it? It's like a 2.9% damage reduction or something like that. They'd have to like drop it down a bit. But 3.9, yeah.
The melee have the choice to put an elemental gem on their weapon, and if they put an elemental gem on their weapon, now physical aversion is only protecting 60% of their physical attacks. So it will be like a bigger variety of things, because realistically now nothing protects you from a left click from a melee weapon. Absolutely anything. While you have resistances from, if you're wearing resilient and elemental aversion, you're countering mages twice, right? If you're wearing resilient and physical aversion, you're counting archers and musketeers twice. But nothing counters melees more than once, which is just resilience. And right.
Well, I mean, slash ward gems, like most, I think, I don't know, most in the current state of the game, like the most predominant things that you're gonna get hit with in melee is slashing damage. I feel like swords, great axes, great swords, hatchets. So it's like slash ward kind of works, but again, it is different from like elemental aversion. Yeah. I see what you're saying, but I'm also like acutely aware all the time when I talk about this that I don't really play much melee. And I don't want to, I don't know, I just feel like I'm going to like incur the wrath of like the melee player base. Just like...
because, but at the same time, if people go with like a physical aversion gear, then they will be very punished by magical, which I don't have a problem with. If you build a set specifically to counter something, you should be rewarded for that, right? Like if you want to build a set with 40% thrust protection and physical aversion, and all of this, you shouldn't be dying to a bow by getting 3-shot, which is now that is the occasion in the game, because you cannot really protect yourself against bows because they have elemental gems. So they do crazy physical damage, crazy elemental damage, explosive arrow. You don't know where to counter it, and then they pull out a spear out of nowhere, and they still do a lot of damage with it, you know? And that is that. I don't know. I think bow has a lot of damage. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think if I was gonna, like a good example, if I was gonna build a set that would sort of counter muskets or bows, specifically muskets, I guess we say, I would run like you would have your resilient, then you would put your thrust damage absorption gems, and then you would run elemental aversion. I'm pretty sure of a physical, right? Because powder burn and like the 50% conversion.
Yeah.
And then if I was gonna build the same build to counter great axes, I think I would still do resilient elemental aversion because like I guess elemental aversion helps against the what do you call it, gravity well. So yeah, like more. I don't know. In general, I think like not specifically. Like just the broader topic here is like just creating more builds that are like viable for like like a rock paper scissors for like many different aspects in the game would be pretty cool. Although that would mean that you'd have to craft even more gear sets, which means more gamba, and it also means like more inventory management and buying more gear set storage systems from the store. Yeah, man, they still haven't said anything about that, but assuming it's still going ahead as it is.
Yeah. How do you feel about the new wards, the human wards?
I've seen a pretty popular. Well, I don't know. It seems to be taken off a bit. I know.
I know where you're going.
Jay has been talking about it, and some people like the consolidation of all these wards into just like one perk, or even just taking them out the game. So obviously resilience is a good catch-all for like all PvP. What if there was the same for PvE, where you just called it like I don't know, like I don't know, like protector or something like that. And if you have protector on your armor, you just take like 20% less damage from like the same equivalent of resilient. So resilient is offering you like, what is it, 4.9 or something like that? 3.9?
Right.
Can't remember. But it'd be the same, but it just covers all enemies in a turnum, PvE only, deal like X% less damage to you. And then you just get a nice set of gear that covers everything. Or alternatively, just making it so, just taking resilient and all ward perks out of the game, and then just giving everybody the inherent damage reduction of whatever that equivalent would be, so that we have like a ton of itemization opened up. So you could run like invigorated, or vigor, or like some other special build that you want to go for. But right now, it feels like all items in the game, like we have a legendary item with 3 perks, right? But really, it's only 2 perks. Like all legendary items are actually only epic items because one of the perks on your item has to be either ward or resilient, like pretty much universally. It's very rare that you can give up that. So, and it's the same with quite a few other weapons. Like with life staff, it's like it's got to be blessed and refreshing move. Like no questions, you got to have that. And I'm sure there's some other weapons as well where it's just like mandatory that you have to have those like 1 or 2 perks. So I think like trying to open that up a bit more would be, it would be pretty nice in my opinion.
Right.
Like, why would you never not run blast on a life staff? Like, it literally increases the healing. That perk should just be baked in by default, because how are you gonna use the healing weapon and not use the perk that says you do more healing? Like, it just 100% should just be there by default.
It doesn't give you room for you to make your own playstyle and your own lifestyle, because if you look at it, at the end of the day, everybody's using the same weapons. Because because you only have room for literally 1 perk, and sometimes that perk is like, well, it's also a no-brainer. Like, why wouldn't you run refreshing move bless and like, I don't know, the order protection for like arenas, or why wouldn't you use the one that reduces all the cooldown of the healing? Like sometimes they're so powerful that it really makes no sense to you to get out of that. Yeah. And it forces people to have the same play style pretty much. It doesn't encourage variety of builds, and we don't see a lot of new builds come up to life, because getting out of that comfort zone is like killing yourself. Like, when in hell will you see a life staff with keen in it, or vicious, or keenly empower, or keenly jack, or like never? You wouldn't ever see it. Why? Because the counterpart of those things are just so much more powerful.
Yeah. Taking this like on a complete, I think like one time that they could maybe look to do this. I thought it might happen with this season 1 update, to be honest, because they were doing like quite a lot of weapon revamps, and stuff. But I mean, it would have to be like a complete overhaul. But maybe when they do this gear scar increase, right? You remember in the roadmap in the expansion, they say there's going to be a new weapon, mounts, zone transformed, and they also said there's going to be a gear scar increase. Do you have any predictions on what we're going to go to, first of all? Like, we're at 625 now. You think it's just going to be 650? You think they're going to go higher?
It should be. Yeah. Higher. I don't think they will go higher. I mean, if we look back, they went from 600 to 625. That was a decent jump. And then 625 to 650. I think that's also a decent jump. The things that we need to consider now is Well, can you increase your gear with gypsum and elite trains all the way to 625 now? Or you still log only to 600 because now you will have to farm twice the amount of umber shards or even more? Are they going to reduce the amount of umber shard that it requires for you from 600 to 625? So in my experience, like, you know, as an MMO player that I've been playing MMOs for a long time, usually whenever they do these bumps, they make the previous, you know, bump like easy to access by just playing the game. So probably people will be able to go to 625 by just gypsum casts or doing elite trains and stuff like that. One thing that what happened with the 620 6050 year score is we're gonna get 10 extra stats. This is something that people haven't thought about it.
Yeah.
We're getting 10 extra stats, and those 10 extra stats might also make some brand new builds. And with the 10 extra stats, we'll see a lot more players probably going into the 350 or even the 400 thresholds for the attributes. And one thing that I would like the devs to add into the game, it's also not stop it at 300. If you can go all the way to 500, why don't we have thresholds at 400 or 450? And we don't have to go all the way to 500, right?
Yeah.
We don't have to go all the way. But with this new expansion that is coming, they could add another power creep with the attributes. Let's add, boom, a new threshold. Now it's 350, you know, and they could play some things around, because let's be real, the life staff and the intelligence, they have some shitty ass thresholds that are some of them are so useless that people don't even care about them. So and also that would encourage more of a glass cannon playstyle. If you want to go 350 focus, you should be rewarded for it. But the reality is, if you're now 300 focus and you go from 300 to 350, due to the diminishing return, you get so little of it that sacrificing 50 constitution and going from 150, you know, from 200 con to 150, you really tell the difference in survivability, but you don't tell the difference in damage or heals, right?
Yeah.
So why are these people that are going above, you know, their survivability threshold, they should be rewarded in a more offensive, you know, ways? What do you think of that?
No, I think that'd be pretty cool, actually. Yeah, I think, like, again, it's like sort of like a halfway commitment to that other idea you were talking about, where if you really lean into like one weapon, you get to like become the master of it. But if you really lean into like one stat, there's some like really powerful benefits that you get from it, but you have to like sacrifice a lot of stats and other points, because yeah, I mean, even right now, like going to 300 intelligence or 300 focus, other than just for the healing or damage aspect, most of the like the pips are really crap. You know, it's like you get your 10% damage on a target if they're full health, or you get like a bit of mana regen. They're both like, compared to your attacks have grit or whatever, it's like way less exciting.
Super, yeah, super. And the other thing is, like, you barely feel the difference, man. You don't feel the reward.
Yeah.
Like if you go from 290 intelligence to 350 intelligence, like, am I really doing more damage? You know, is it there? You know?
Yeah.
And it's so little, because again, the diminishing return hits you hard. And some weapons, they don't scale like other weapons. Like if you go 500 strength, the Warhammer has like 1800 damage. If you go 500 intelligence, the fire stat has like 1300 damage. It's like, well, what the heck? You know, why is a Warhammer light attack deals 3000 damage with 500 strength, but then a light attack for a fire stab only deals 1700 damage, you know, with 500 intelligence? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Well, I guess it's supposed to, you know, the idea is like balance, because you can do the attack from like further off, whereas you have to like close the gap with Warhammer, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't apply to bow or musket.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think what this comes down to is just got enough musket, honestly.
Yeah, like bow and musket, they have like 1800 damage, which is freaking crazy, man.
Yeah.
These weapons, some weapons scale super high, some weapons don't scale very much. Some weapons, weapons that have like mid stats, those weapons are very rewarding for you to go like 200, you know? The damage is crazy ridiculous, but the weapons that only scale with one attribute, you cannot really, you know, go to 500 because you don't feel that big of a jump in damage.
Yeah.
But you feel very squishy. You cannot be a 500 intelligence mage and be actually productive with it. Well, you can be a 500 dexterity archer or like a 250 int and dex musket and actually perform like crazy. But, you know, as a mage or you can do that somehow as an assassin, but try to do that as a regular bruiser class. You see what happened. You will die with one maelstrom. You will immediately die. So yeah, there's a lot of risk and not that many rewards.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. All right, man.
And if you, yeah, we gotta end it. We gotta end the treat. Be trick. Yeah, I will talk. I will talk. We'll keep talking.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if Amazon can commit, well, we don't know. I mean, like at this point, if they're gonna delay it, just delay it until it's ready. But if they do get the next update out March 30th, then we'll play like a few days of season 1, and I think it'll be interesting to come back and realize like, oh, we didn't talk about that. That was such a big thing that went on. But yeah, I wanted to like get your thoughts on some other like pie in the sky concepts as well, but I think we'll have to save those to the next podcast.
Yes. Oh, exactly. Such a great idea that I had for like the elite trains and things, because honestly, I think elite trains are like the worst type of content in your world. But we'll leave that one. We'll leave that one for next week. We'll talk about it next week. Oh, dude. I have such a good take on that. But anyways, yeah, go ahead. Let's finish.
All right, man. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to a Bag of Tricks episode, whatever this is. I think we're like 5 or something now. If you guys do want to help out the show, if it's on YouTube, you click the like. You can subscribe on either mine or Tricks channel. If you're on the podcast platform, leave a review or a comment there as well. That helps us out. Twitch chat, you guys, just thanks for being here and talking with us and chatting away. And Trick, thank you for the good conversation as always, man.
Always a pleasure, B. Always a pleasure to be here with you. And yeah, catch you on the next one.
All right, we'll see you guys all in the next chat.